Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this next this next section of our coaching group. And the title is Personal Impact. Before we dive in, as always, let's just land and feel our feet on the ground or legs, our bum, however you're sitting. Take a deep breath. Another deep breath. Just let it all out. One more. Feel the air in your nostrils coming in and out through your mouth. Feel where your body's touching objects or itself. Notice any unusual feelings in the body. Don't get caught up in them, just notice where you are right now. And send a deep, long route of energy down into the center of the earth. Hook yourself into the earth, the planet. And equally sending an energetic arrow up into the sky, up into space. Opening up a portal to send in that bigger wisdom and combining the wisdom, big perspective and the wisdom of earth in ourselves, opening to listen as well as we can and to sit in our hearts. Here we are again. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in for all of the sessions. I hope they are being useful, and do actually text me if you are online, just so I know that you're there, because it's nice to know that I'm not just talking to myself. However, also welcome to all of you who might be watching this on replay or further down the line. Please do email me if you or message me if you're on social media if you have any questions, because there may easily be things that come up for you if you're doing the exercises, so do feel free to get in touch. So personal impact. I was mentioning yesterday how quite often we feel like the little things we do don't have much impact. And that may be true from our very limited vision. We're very used to wanting to see the immediate effects of any causes, and we've become increasingly impatient. And I suppose also in the scientific view, we want to have proof of everything. And in that sense, sometimes our little impacts don't have a direct impact back on our life. But actually, everything we do has an infinite consequence. It is part of a huge long line of connections in time. And sometimes we just, especially in times like these, need to step out a bit and look back at actually how consequential everything we do is. And maybe that's also something that we lose sight of too much when we're in the flow that we've been in for the last few decades or generations. So this is going to be the adult chat. Time to be adults. We all have a responsibility, and this may sound anti-intuitive right now, but especially in view of the fact that we're being quite isolated. The number one responsibility we have, number one, is to ourselves. And this may go against some of the more religious tenets that we may have in terms of charity, but we aren't really able to serve anyone else until we've taken care of ourselves. The energy that does that is not the energy that comes from a very grounded and central space, but a needy space. So being responsible entirely to ourselves to begin with is absolutely crucial. It's our responsibility how we show up to what is happening. And so now it's time to put our big pants on, our adult pants on, and to drop in the A team. So just as much as we have our archetypes that hold us back, our victim, prostitute, saboteur, and wounded child, we also have the A team. Dun, 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 dun. So it's time to wing in the A team. So where the victim says, you know, this virus has made me ... lose my job, feel insecure, etc., etc., etc. We bring in the warrior, the sacred warrior. And we bring in the warrior to bring courage into this and just to bring in that self-care in this moment. The warrior looks at how we can use this time wisely, how we can make strategies and tactics to get through this time with benefit. Where our prostitute is possibly compromising, where we are not being honest with ourselves and other people because we don't want to rock the boat. And that might even just include not sharing how insecure you feel or not admitting to yourself how scared you are, because you don't want to rock your own boat of everything is fine, or you don't want to upset the people around you because you want to put up a stiff upper lip and be the one that carries everyone else. This is really the time to be honest. Be honest with yourself. How are you feeling? What can you do to help yourself? And then what can you do to help others once you feel that your energy is back in center? This is probably one of the hardest ones because we're so good at deluding ourselves and other people to keep things level. But this is the best time in the world when all the level playing field has been completely disrupted. Well, why not also start to be completely honest with yourself now? And in that honesty, looking at everything from that space of openness. And this also doesn't mean to completely indulge yourself in your feelings, but it is a time to really look at the truth. What are your feelings? And look at them as an observer. Don't get involved in them. Don't follow the fear down the rabbit hole. Or but do it consciously. Be like, okay, I'm giving myself half an hour to completely freak out, starting now. Freak out. Do whatever you do. Cry, scream, shout, worry, watch a million scary YouTube videos, all of those things, but then set the timer and be like, right, done. That's done. I've let that part of myself be acknowledged. And now let's get on with the big pants adult self. Saboteur also will be rife right now. And we'll look a little bit more deeply into this one, but on the surface, you know, the saboteur will be like, well, you know, this is so unusual. I deserve to, you know, drink more, eat more, lie around in bed. What's the point? All of those things. And listen, we know if we have a lockdown or anything like that, we have got quite a long time to do that in, and it's going to be incredibly unhealthy to get into that habit early on. So I'm just, you know, not saying don't do it. I'm very happy to have a glass of wine or two, but, you know, let's just be, again, aware of the temptation to do that. And instead bring in the hero. Bring in the hero who's going to find, you know, new brilliant things to do in this time, but also to find constancy and consistency. I spoke yesterday about having a morning ritual or having a little ritual that you do for yourself every day. And so, again, the importance of this ritual is just to bring something that's constant, this constancy, into your daily life, from which then all the other constancies can come from. be that person that you know you can rely on. Know that you can rely on yourself before needing to rely on anyone else. And then an archetype I hadn't mentioned before, but the wounded child, that one sits in the heart, and that one's feeling very unsafe right now, and the unknown, and who's going to take care of me. But actually, that's where you wing in the mother and the father, and be the person that is going to take care of yourself, and do whatever it takes to reassure your child that it's going to be okay, because you are also a warrior and a hero, a mother, a father. You are all of those things, and it's time to let these ones come to the forefront. So the first exercise I would like you to do today is to really look into how you can flip those, not flip them, how you can acknowledge what exists in terms of the fears and the anxieties, and where you are not being quite truthful in the knowledge that you've got this backup of the 18, and really notice when you are in which kind of frame of mind. And rather than telling yourself off if you catch yourself in fear mode or anxiety, the A-team is not there to tell you off. The A-team is there to bring you back to your center and yourself. So as we've said, in previous sessions, how do you feel? How are you feeling? Check in. And if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling fine and clear and calm, then great. This is a perfect time to plan how you're going to spend the next month or so, or in fact help other people out. If you're not calm, what can you do to help yourself? How are you feeling, and what do you need to bring yourself back to center? It's also time to bring in the sage and wisdom. And I think in stressful situations like this, it's very easy to become judgmental, because I think people will be behaving in ways, people around us will be behaving in ways that may surprise us. We don't know how people react to stress of this kind. And it may be that the way you choose to respond is very different to how your other half is choosing to respond, or your family is choosing to respond. And there can be quite a lot of upset, even in closer circles, in terms of being surprised by people's reactions. And whenever you find yourself in a situation where you want to judge other people around you, whether it's close or large, outsiders or people within your family, but whenever you're in a situation where you feel like judging, try and bring your attention back to yourself. Always try and bring your attention back to yourself. You are responsible for yourself. So you are responsible then for your own reactions to these people. And you're not here to tell them how to be right now, or ever, in fact. Another interesting thing to look at now is what are the belief systems that we're attached in? What belief systems, so not just our negative beliefs, but our belief systems, what belief systems are being undermined right now? The linearity of our systems, I feel, has also really brought a sense of competition, of course, and through that also this reward systems for behaviors. And I guess a lot of us were brought up with, well, if you do this, then you'll get this. It's almost this blackmailing. And in those systems, we have become incredibly entitled. We have a huge amount of expectations from the world and from the systems. We're incredibly entitled. We always feel like we're being owed something. So, I worked really hard, so I should be getting so and so. I've done this and that, so I should be that. And I deserve to be. So this is a great one. I deserve to be. And you'll see it in small things, for example, just in your own behaviors. Well, I've had a really stressful day, so I deserve a glass of wine. Oh, well, I've been to the gym today, so I deserve to have extra food. I have, all these things where you find yourself, that you're entitled to awarding yourself, or that you're owed something by someone else. And it's really difficult, this one, because I also have had situations where I felt, I don't deserve to be spoken to like that. And all these things are all belief systems which are breaking down now. And so, the belief system that because we've worked hard, we should be owed something in return. I've worked extremely hard with my husband setting up a retreat center. And guess what? I'm not owed anything by anyone. If we go bankrupt right now, then we go bankrupt. And it's this idea that just because we've worked really hard, that we're owed to have a happy, free, easy life. And it just isn't like that. And so all these belief systems we've had right now, a lot of them are being undermined. The systems, our financial systems, our healthcare systems, all these things that were owed free, all these things, they're all breaking down and or at least just shifting. They're all there to be readdressed. And that, can be scary, but of course, in a way, because that's what we're used to. But also, it's this amazing opportunity to really redream how we want things to be. And that may sound cheesy, but it's actually fundamental. Also, the thing is, when we are saying that we're owed things or that we have expectations, it's always the onus on another person. The onus is on getting the reward that I expect, or the behavior that I expect, or the this, that, and the other. And that there are just certain systems of behavior. If I do this, then you do this. And of course, there are things like that in society, but they are essentially created by us. For whatever reason, someone starts it and then everyone else picks up on it. Like used to be now, everyone, writing thank you letters for dinner, and then it's bringing a gift for dinner, and all these things have changed even in our lifetime. What's appropriate, what's not appropriate, all these things change. And so all these onuses on other people and others' behavior, it's a really good time to just draw a line under those. Don't expect anything from anyone, and anything that you do get is an added bonus. And in a way, by doing that, you're taking your power back. You're taking your power back to yourself, because you're not basing your own happiness on the behavior of other people. And we've all been doing that by this sense of entitlement. Well, I just want everyone else to create my perfect life for me because I'm doing what I said I would do. And now everyone needs to come up. This is some sort of contract. Well, it's not a contract. And this is a beautiful moment to rewrite all of those, or in fact, to just not to leave them and not be so attached. And what's really hurting us right now are our attachments to things, and our attachments to objects, to ways of life, to ways of exchange, to systems of behavior. And this is a great moment just to take your power back. Don't expect anyone else to help you, and take charge of your mental health. Particularly now, this is a great moment to take your power back, because your mental health is going to be absolutely crucial in the next few months. And there are going to be a lot of things to really, really challenge you on that front. So again, as already mentioned, all these ways that you can find that you can level yourself and bring yourself back to center, and stay aware of where your mind is going, and do as much as what you can in a conscious way. So like I just mentioned, if you want to, if certain emotions need to be acknowledged, let them be acknowledged, sit with them, and then let them go. Don't hide them, don't suppress them, don't pretend they're not happening, but also don't indulge. It's okay not to know. That's one of the big ones right now. We're all trying to become, through our need to know, overnight scientists and medics. It's okay not to know. Keep moving, keep bringing yourself back in your body, keep drinking water, eat healthily, create all these things that we've mentioned. Just to find your ways of keeping sane. So as I've mentioned, this idea that we don't have personal impact. We have huge impact, and we're not even aware of how much impact we have, because quite often we're not even aware how much our energy field is filled with the way we feel, and how obvious it is to other people when we're not being honest with ourselves, with them. So even just the impact on our personal environment is massive. And so when we get into the good spaces of those places, when we are creative and when we are feeling able to feel safe just through our own knowledge that we're here for ourselves, when we feel empowered, then everyone else around us will feel safe with us too. But in the end, you're not doing it for everyone else. First and foremost, you're doing it for yourself. And on that note, also, while we've got the children at home, they can see that everything is unsettled. So to try and pretend that everything's fine, there's no point. But equally, if you are coming from a space of your own hero and your own warrior, then this is what we can teach them. We can teach them that sometimes in life, it's not all easygoing, and there are moments when we really have to step up, and where it's very important to be clear and honest and calm and present, dealing just with what is happening right here, right now, not worrying too much about the future. This is the perfect time to really spend on life skills with our children, as well as carrying on their academic education and their sporting education. So as I've mentioned, every choice we make is of infinite consequence. Now that might be just adding a little bit to the overwhelm of what we're feeling already, but it's really just to bring it back to really know that everything matters. And so that's not to feel the pressure of having to make the right choice every single time, but it's definitely, I find, inspiring to know that again and think, okay, well, what choices would I make if I had known all along that it matters? What can I do better? And so it's not a question of being perfect. It's a question of evolving. So this is a fantastic time to think about, how would we like to evolve? So the next exercise would be to make a list again of where can you make better choices. We were going yesterday with the as above, so below. So, our body is our own planet. How can you make better choices for your own planet? Because those better choices, if everyone makes them for themselves, will be reflected in how everything else is done. And with global warming, we're already seeing a lot of people in that conversation. A lot of us are in that conversation already. How can we make better choices? And what's interesting about the epidemic, it's almost like a clarion call to that, because we all want to make better choices, and yet there's a lot of compromising going on. And of course, we need to find the balance of, everyday reality. It'd be great if we all had the infrastructure and abundance to suddenly all be driving electrically with free energy, and everything was made from biodegradable materials, and so there's going to be a time of transition. But it's a great time to inspire yourself with small steps. If your body is your planet, what can you do within your body to be more in alignment with what you know, the knowledge that you have? And start with small steps. So it's something that you can do consistently, that you can then be like, okay, well, that was doable. So, how am I going to tweak other things? Because often it's tweaking mindsets means that you automatically start changing your behaviors. And changing your behaviors doesn't have to mean from tomorrow, I'm never going to do blah, blah, blah. It's unlikely that's ever going to work for you. However, giving yourself a bit of a nudge towards, okay, from tomorrow, I'm cutting back on. I won't have 3 pieces of toast. I have 2 pieces of toast. or whatever it is. But this is the thing, where is it, where are these nudges able to make that also then will give you the confidence to try to make bigger moves? As a planet, you're also moving around in these systems. And again, just like you're moving around in systems within your home, within your environment, how can you bring harmony to your own body, but also how can you bring harmony to your personal environments? Communication is always a really important one to look at. Difficult one to look at, but is a great one to get on top of. It will make such a huge difference to harmony in home if we could all speak to each other in a way that's both honest, vulnerable, and calm. Not that I've mastered that one, but I'm definitely trying. Ongoing, watch this space. But yeah, so this is really a great clarion call to be your own boss. Step into your power. What do you choose to create? When we see all these systems crumbling around us as well, there's one that really sticks out that seems to be just going on as per usual. Looking out the window, and there is nature, and nature is such a great grounding force for a reason, because it is the system that is not crumbling right now. It's crumbling by our own actions, but it just keeps going and it just keeps rebalancing. There are amazing metaphors in nature for our own behavior. And so I really urge you as well, as another exercise, is to get outside and maybe just sit with your back up against a tree and feel into these metaphors in nature. Ask for little messages from nature, to ask advice, because everywhere you look, there's a metaphor. Whether it's the strength and groundedness of a tree, or whether it's the yielding of grasses in the wind while they're firmly rooted, there's so much inspiration in nature. It's a system of cycles, of balance, of beauty, of life and death without attachment. But in nature, there's joy in every moment. The here and the now. So how can you create systems for yourself that mimic nature or are inspired by nature? How can we create systems that are more cyclical as well? And it feels to me like, for example, let's say I would say that it's cyclical. So rather than, for me, I was like, okay, well, hang on. If I know that my behavior is cyclical too, with women, it's a bit more obvious because they have their time of the month. And so there is a natural cycle in women's life anyway. But also, if you start watching your energy levels, you might find that there's cycles even within your day. You might be a morning person or an evening person, nighttime person. You find out, you probably already know when the times of day are where you're down, where you're not so full of energy, and when you are full of energy. So what systems can you create that work with this flow of energy that exists anyway? Or in fact, already we have working and then we've got the weekends. So we're already running this cyclical system in some areas, but equally, when we're trying to be healthier, let's say, how can we do that in a more cyclical way that's natural to us? Because, if we just suddenly go, right, that's it, I'm giving up drinking entirely, unless you absolutely need to do that. But, anything that we become that sort of linear about, it's going to be much harder to maintain. And this is a great time to find ways of finding systems that work with your nature. So if your nature is to have fun and that way that you release is to be dancing and having a good time, well, it's all about the balance again. So there we go. Okay, well, I won't drink during the week and I'll be able to drink, have a party on the weekends, or which you probably do already. But, again, things like that, just giving yourself a natural break, and not as an excuse and not as a compromise and not as because you deserve it, but just because this is your cyclical system that that you adhere to.